Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. In the previous classes, we have seen what is a load balancer and how we achieve scalability using EC2 load balancers. So we have seen what is an horizontal scaling and what is a vertical scaling. Okay. So today we are going to see what is auto scaling. So we are being using the horizontal scaling here, and we are achieving the auto scaling. So auto scaling is one of the key feature in EC2. Okay, so it is being like widely used, and it is one of the powerful feature in AWS EC2. So what is auto scaling? So before going to that, like, we'll see what is auto scaling groups. Okay, so in the real life, as we know, that the load of the websites and the applications can change, so they may vary based on various parameters. So the load of the website may not be the same all the time, so it may increase or it may decrease. So in the cloud, you can create and get rid of servers very quickly. So that means, like, you in the cloud, you can add or you can remove the servers very quickly. So we have seen how to launch an instance and how to terminate an instance. So within minutes we are launching an instance. Okay, so in the cloud you can create and get rid of servers very quickly. So using this we can achieve auto scaling. So the goal of auto scaling group, okay, so we'll call it at ASG. So the goal of an auto scaling group is to, first thing is, scale out. That means, like, we need to, if we have any increase in the load, so we need to add more EC2 instance and we need to scale out. Scale out means adding more EC2 instances to achieve the load. Okay, so to maintain the load. And sometimes, and the second one is scale in, so that is to remove the EC2 instances. So this is happen like when you have a low load and you need to remove some servers. Okay, so that you can save some costing, right? So, and the other thing is, ensure we have minimum and maximum number of EC2 instances running. So based on your application, you may have a basic knowledge on how many instances that need to be running for your application. So you need to ensure, like, minimum and maximum number of EC2 instances running to keep your application always enable without any downtime. Okay, automatically register new instances to the load balancer. So in the previous classes, what we have done is, like, we have created some instances and we are manually attaching it to our load balancer. So in auto scaling group, that must be like done automatically. Okay, we'll see how we'll do that in the coming classes. So we'll do a hands-on on the auto scaling group. Okay, so another thing is recreate an EC2 instance in case of previous one is terminated. So if by any chance, if there is any issue in the EC2 instance and your application in the EC2 instance is not running, so what it must do is, it must terminate the previous instance and it need to create the same instance again, and it need to add to the load balancer, and that EC2 instance is also must be ready to take the load and process it. Okay, so these are the goals today we are going to see. And auto scaling groups are free and you only pay for the underlying EC2 instance. Like, that means to create these auto scaling groups they won't like, AWS will not charge anything for creating an auto scaling groups, but the instances which you are using, okay, with this auto scaling group, you need to pay for the EC2 instances per hour. Okay, so for example, so we'll see how this auto scaling group works. See, for example, we have an auto scaling group we have created. So before creating an auto scaling group, you must know, like, how much minimum capacity you need to run your application. So when there is low load, so how many applications, so with the minimum load, how many EC2 instances you need to run your application. So here, say, like, I want like 2 instances minimum, okay, to run my application. So, and there is a desired capacity. Desired capacity is something like what is the optimal instances that need to run your applications. Okay, so then you need a maximum capacity. Okay, so what is the maximum capacity? So or the maximum load that may come to your applications, and what is the maximum capacity of EC2 instances you need to run your applications. Okay, and you also need to know like how much like scale you need to increase the servers, how many servers you need to increase. So you need to define that. So this is the things you need to define to create a auto scaling group. Okay, so we'll see this on hands-on, like how we will define all this in the auto scaling group. And we can also attach a load balancer to the auto scaling group. So here we have an auto scaling group. So we have like 4 instances. Say like we have 4 instances, and these 4 instances are connected to the load balancer. Okay, so whenever the load get increases, we already know that we can have health checks on EC2 load balancers. Okay, so if there is any health check failures or any health check issues in the elastic load balancer also, then also we can trigger an auto scaling group, and we can add more instances to the groups. So say like the EC2 load balancer is getting like more hits than the usual time, or else say that you are running a restaurant and you have like more orders on the weekends when compared to the weekdays. So what happens is when we come to the weekends, so whenever the load get increases here in the health check, so we can see uh, either we can see any failure in the instances, and also we can see the CPU usage or the RAM usage or the number of counts, request counts is getting increased. So on any parameters we can go and add a EC2 instance using this auto scaling group based on the load which we are getting and based on the health checks. So if any of the instance in this is failed or by any chance, so what happens is here the load balancer will know, because it has a health check here. So the load balancer will know that one instance got down. So what it will do is we can trigger and we can add another instance on the spot automatically, so without doing any manual intervention. Okay, so we need to know in this here is like we can attach a EC2 load balancer to a auto scaling group, and auto scaling groups can be triggered by EC2 health checks. Okay, so that's the main point you need to understand here. So coming to here, we can also do auto scaling using CloudWatch alarms, okay, and scaling. So it is possible to scale auto scaling group based on CloudWatch alarms. So CloudWatch alarms is like we'll cover in the next classes, but for now keep in mind that CloudWatch alarm means like it will watch the cloud. As the name suggests, it will watch all the services in the cloud. So you can create some alarms based on the CloudWatch. Okay, so you can create an alarm on different services in AWS, and you can trigger some events when you got some alarms. Okay, say like I want to create a CloudWatch alarm on my EC2 load balancer. So whenever a instance got down in the load balancer, I want to create an alarm. Or whenever my EC2 instance went down or EC2 instance got terminated, I want to send an alarm. So we can watch any service on the cloud using this CloudWatch, and based on this watch we can create an alarms based on the conditions. Okay, so we'll have a separate class on this. For now, understand CloudWatch is something like which watches the services in the cloud and create alarms in the on some cases. Okay, so we can also scale based auto scaling groups based on the CloudWatch alarms. Okay, an alarm monitors a metric such as average CPU and custom metrics, as we have seen. So these alarms will monitor some metrics. Okay, so something like an average CPU usage and custom metrics we can use using CloudWatch. Metrics such as average CPU are compute for overall auto scaling group instances. Okay, so based on the alarm, what we can do is we can create a scale out policies. That means we can increase the number of sites. So that means if the average CPU usage is getting increased, what we can do is we can trigger a scale out policy. So whenever the CPU usage is getting down, we can create a scale in policy. So scale in means decreasing the number of instances. So in this diagram, see we have an auto scaling group. So initially it have minimum of 3 instances. So here when we will create a CloudWatch alarm, so this what this CloudWatch alarm do is like it will monitor all the instances in this auto scaling group. If any instance CPU is getting more than the limit which we have given, so then this CloudWatch alarm will trigger the auto scaling group and it will add two more instances to balance the load. Okay, so we can trigger this auto scaling group using CloudWatch alarms. So, and how we will scale these policies, and these are something like scaling policies. Okay, there are three types of scaling policies. Scaling policies nothing but like on which basis you will scale or you will add instances to your auto scaling group. Okay, so first thing is target tracking scaling. So it is the most simple and easy step. So an example is I want the average auto scaling group CPU to stay around 40%. So any instance in the auto scaling group, crosses 40%, then this will be scaled. So then we will add another instance. So here we can put any number of like percentage. So if your instances is getting 80% more, or if it is crossing 80%, or if it's CPU usage, then you can trigger and you can add an instance to your auto scaling group. So this is one thing. And there is other thing called simple or step scaling. So when a CloudWatch alarm is triggered, so in the previous slide we have seen we can trigger a auto scaling group using CloudWatch alarm. So when a CloudWatch alarm is triggered, example like if the CPU gets 70% high, then we can add 2 units. So when the CPU less than 30, then we remove 1 unit. So similarly, we can trigger the auto scaling group using CloudWatch, but these CloudWatch alarms you need to create it by your own. So in this simple and step scaling, you need to create this CloudWatch alarm by your own. And the schedule action is something like, as the name suggests, if you want to scale your auto security auto scaling group on a specific schedule. So we have an example like you are running some special offer in your restaurant. Okay, so you know that you will have more orders on this particular time. So say like on the Saturday you have announced like 1+1 offer or something on some food item. Okay, so you know that there will be a lot of traffic, a lot of people being visiting your restaurant. Okay, so you know that particular time like 10 to 5 on Fridays. Okay, you want more capacity. So at that time what you can do is you can put a schedule actions. Okay, on that time from this 10 to 5 there will be this auto scaling group will add more servers in it. That means like it will go to the maximum servers in it, and after this time it will remove the servers from the auto scaling group. Okay, so that's like this is something like when you know when your applications will get like huge load, if you know a particular time or particular period. Okay, so when you get huge load, then you can go for this scheduled actions. Okay, so that's it for the theory part. What we'll do is we'll go and do a hands-on. So now what I'll do is I'll open my AWS console. Okay, so try to understand it clearly. I'll go slowly because this is one of the like complicated setup. So you need to be very keen on this. So I'm opening this console dot. So it's easy, but like a small you need to be more keen. So I'm going to my EC2. So first thing is like if you have any running instances here, like first you go and terminate them. So keep in mind like there must not be any instances here because we are not manually creating the instances. Okay, our auto scaling group must create our instances, and it need to maintain the instances. We are not creating anything on by own. And also like check whether you have a load balancer here. This is my demo application load balancer that I have created in the previous class. I am leaving it like this. Okay, and I have a target group here, and this target group is assigned to this load balancer on 80 port. So whenever I got a traffic to my load balancer on 80 port, I am moving it to the target group. Okay, so this is already which we have done in the previous class. I left it like this, and we'll using the same load balancer in the auto scaling groups which we are creating now. Okay, so this is the install starter. Just we need to have a load balancer and a target group, and the instances, there must not be any running instances. Okay, so I'm going to create an auto scaling group. So here in the bottom of EC2 we'll go to auto scaling group. So click on this, and click on create auto scaling group. So here we have a wizard like thing, like with different steps. We'll go one by one. So here I am giving my name, my demo ASG auto scaling group. So here coming to the launch templates. So here we need to create a launch template. So launch template means something like the EC2 instance which you want to launch. Okay, in this auto scaling group you need to mention here. So click here to create a new launch template. So this is similarly like creating an instance. So I'll give my template name, my demo ASG template. Okay, so I'll give my description and leave all this like this, and here you need to select the AMI which you want to use. Okay, so this is the AMI which I want to launch using my auto scaling group, and I'll select this, and in instance type I'll go with T2 micro. So this is retire eligible, and I'm using my EC2 key which I have created during creating an instance. All this is similar to creating an instance, so there won't be any much change. So I'll select my launch wizard 1, which is my default EC2 security group which I created during creating an instance, and the volumes also we can leave it like this, and going to this advanced details. So we'll keep this user data here. So I have created this user data. We'll copy the same user data, this what we are using in the previous classes. So this will install a HTTP server, web server, and run a file, index.js file. So we'll write, this will install the HTTPD server, and it will start it and enable it, and it will print this hello world, and it will write this in the index.html. So this is just creating a sample web, installing a web server and creating a index file in your web server. So okay, we are ready. So just we have created a template, and you can create on large template. Okay, so now my template is created. I'll go back to my auto scaling groups here. So if I refresh here, I can see that my demo ASG template. So this is the one I have created now. So I'm selecting this. Okay, so this is the launch template. Launch template is something, the configuration of the instance which you want to launch in the auto scaling group. You need to provide the configuration of the EC2 instance here. So here we have created and we have selected it, and everything is good. We'll go to next step. Here we need to select on which availability zone you need to create these instances for this auto scaling group. For now I am selecting all the availability zones. So instance type is something which we have created now. So here we can see the launch template. So this is the instance type which we want to create in the auto scaling group. Okay, so we'll click on next. So here we need to give a load balancer name either. So auto scaling group can work without no load balancer. So there may be some other use cases. For now, like we are using an existing load balancer. So here we are creating. So if there is no load balancer you have created there, you can attach here. So you can create a new load balancer here. So I already have a application load balancer, and here it will show my target groups of this application load balancer and target groups. Okay, so here this target group is because all the instances which are creating by this auto scaling group, so those instances will be attached to this target group. Okay, so here we have a health checks. So here we say, so EC2 health checks are enabled. So that means if any EC2 instance got down, so then this auto scaling group will remove that instance and add a new instance. So with, and apart from that, if you want to turn on the elastic load balancer health checks also. So based on the elastic load balancer health checks also, if you want to remove or add, okay, an EC2 instance to your auto scaling group, you can enable this. Okay, I'm enabling this. Okay, and so that's it. So we are good. Click on next. So here we need to give the capacities. So we have seen what are the capacities and what is the minimum and the maximum capacities and the desired capacity for the auto scaling group we need to provide here. So for now I'll keeping all this as 1, because so here like my desired capacity is 1, so minimum is 1, maximum is 1, so that like one instance is being running for this auto scaling group. Okay, so if I want 2 or 3, I can mention it more here, so we'll see that also. For now we are keeping all this as 1, and yeah, we're almost done. So we are given this, clicking on next. So if you want to add any notifications, you can add it. So for now I'm not doing anything, I'm clicking on next. So if you want to add tags or something, you can add. So I'm not doing anything now, I'm clicking on next. So here you can see all the summary so of the auto scaling group. So we can check all this and we can click on create an auto scaling group. Okay, so now my auto scaling group, my demo ASG with the launch template, okay, is created and it is updating the capacity. And when you open this, you can see all the information here, and the most important thing is the activity here. So here see, your request answer. Okay, so here it is saying, so we have 3 availability zones selected, right? So what it is saying is the availability zone AP South 1C. So it is saying T2 micro is not supported in the requested availability zone. So what we need to do is we need to remove this C here. So you understand this error, right? So what we have said, like we want to launch an instance in either one A, B or C, any availability zone. So we have selected 3. So what this has tried it is trying to create an instance in T2 micro in AP South 1C. Okay, so but unfortunately this T2 micro, okay, AMI is not a type of instance is not available in AP 1 South C, so it is unable to create. So we need to check before creating auto scaling group. We need to check whether the instance or the template which we are selecting is available in our region and availability zone or not. So what we can do is we'll go to our details here. So we'll go all the way here in the instance. So here we have this networking. So we'll go to edit here and we will remove our AP South 1C and we'll create only in this C. So and we'll click on update. Okay, so now the auto scaling group is again initiating. So I'll click on this, I'll go to my activity. See now, so now what it has done, so we have given a desired capacity of 1. So still now we don't have any instances in our instances tab. So here it is saying launching a new EC2 instance. So why it is launching, we can see the cause here. So an instance was starting in response to difference between desired and actual capacity, increasing volume from 0 to 1. So till now we don't have any instances, but whilst after starting this auto scaling group, so in the auto scaling group we have defined, so the minimum or the desired capacity for my auto scaling group is we need to have at least one EC2 instance. So when we started our EC2, when we started our auto scaling group, so it checked for minimum instances, and if the minimum instance is 0, so then it is creating an instance. So we can go to the instance management here and we can see it has launched an instance T2 micro in AP South 1A and it is healthy. So more details, we can go to these instances, and if you refresh it, see we haven't created this instance, but it was created here. So this was created using this auto scaling group. And if you go to the load balancer, so you go to the load balancer and the target group. So in this target group, okay, if you refresh this, so here see, So one instance is added to this load balancer. So this also we haven't added, it was added automatically by the auto scaling group. Okay, so now what we can do is we'll go to the load balancer and we'll take the DNS of this load balancer and we'll check whether it is responding or not. So I'm copying this, I'll paste it in my browser and run. See now, so my instance is launched automatically, it was added to the load balancer, okay, and it was running. So all this is done with the auto scaling group. So now we'll go back here again. So we'll go to the auto scaling group and I'll open my auto scaling group. Now what I'll say is I'll increase the desired capacity here. So I'll just go here and I'll increase the desired capacity to 2 and update it. So we need to increase the maximum capacity also, I think. So if the desired is 2, you also need to increase the, so maximum must be more like highest number or equal to the desired capacity or minimum. So I'll update it here. So now I have added the desired capacity is 2, that means like I need to run at least 2 servers. Okay, so if I go to the activity here and if I keep on refresh, we must see like one more server must be added here. It will take a little time. So we'll go and see in the instance management, see here. So one more instance is added, see here, it is saying, so it is launching a new instance. Why it is launching is at this particular time user requests to update the auto scaling group and we have changed the minimum 1 to maximum 2 desired 2. So it is changing from, so that it is adding the instances from 1 to 2. Okay, so here it is creating a new instance again and it will create a new instance, and here if you go to the instances here, if you refresh it, you will get another instance here which is initializing, and it will also be added to my load balancer target group. So whenever it is initialized and ready, it will be added here, see here. Okay, so this is how this auto scaling group will automatically add an instance, okay, based on this capacity which we have mentioned, and it will add it to the load balancer and it will give the load. So we'll wait for 1 minute here, we'll see is it added or not. So now my 2 instances are added to my target group and they are healthy. So if I go to my here and if you refresh it, so see now my load is equally going to my both servers. Okay, so this is how we use the auto scaling group. And now what we'll do is, so I am going to my auto scaling group, and till now what we have seen is we are increasing the servers. So what if you want to decrease the servers, that means what if you want to scale in. So till now we have seen how to scale out. So again I go to my details, I'll go to this edit. Now what I'll do is I'll decrease this capacity to 1. Okay, so the maximum capacity can be 2, no issues. The desired capacity we are keeping it as 1. So and I update it. So now I have saying like 1 EC2 instance is desired and enough for my application. So if I go to the activity here, see here, it is terminating 1 EC2 instance because I said like 1 instance is enough and I don't want another instance. So it is saying an user request to update a constant from min 1 to max 2 and decide 1 changing. So now it is doing 2 to 1. So it is decreasing and it is scale in. So okay, scaling in and it is decreasing the servers here. So what happens is it will terminate the servers here. If you go to the instance management and if you keep refresh it, so it will see it is terminating this instance, and once it is terminated, it will remove the instance from the target group also. If you go here and if you refresh this, so see the target is deregistering its process, so it is also draining and it will remove the instance from the load balancer. So if you go to the instances here, if you refresh this, so after removing that, it will terminate the complete instance from this instances also. So we will wait for 1 minute. So we'll go here. That termination will take a little bit time, so don't worry about that. So it is still terminating here. Okay, meanwhile what we'll see is, so here like we are saying this as an auto scaling group. So the scaling is being done, right? So it is increasing and decreasing the servers, but we are not doing it automatically, right? So here we are either going here and doing this, and we are editing this manually. So the scaling is being done based on this desired and minimum capacity, but this minimum capacity and all, like we are manually editing it. So there is nothing like done automatically, right? So how we'll do this automatic scaling is, here we have automatic scaling. So here we have 3 types of scalings. So we have seen in the previous slide, one is the dynamic scaling, or the and here some is the predictive scaling and schedule actions. So this schedule action is something, we'll go one by one. This schedule action is something like, if you know when a particular time, so if you know a particular time, like so from this specific start time, so if you give a specific start time, and if you say like, want at this particular start time, I want the desired capacity to be changed to 2, and the minimum capacity is 1 and the maximum is 4, you can define something like this, and you can give this recurrent. So this is for every once, or every week, or every day. So every day at this time, or every week at this time, or you need to do this only once. You can specify all this and you can create it. Okay, so what happens is, at this particular time, the desired capacity and the minimum and the maximum capacity will be updated with this, and based on these parameters, the instances will be added or terminated. So this is straightforward like a scheduled scaling. And this is a predictive scaling. So predictive scaling is something like, it takes the information from the logs. So we have a monitoring logs here. So it will take the logs, something like from the EC2. So it will take the logs of the CPU utilization, or the disk usage, or the number of requests coming to this particular server. So based on all these, okay, metrics, so it will create a predictive scaling. So say like, so for this, like, you need to run your load balancer at least for like 2 to 3 days, or the auto scaling group for at least 2 to 3 days. See here, so we can decide the evaluation period. So if you keep an evaluation period for like 1 week, it will take last 1 week data in the logs, and it will check like at what time we are getting a high CPU usage, or like at what time we are getting high number of requests, and based on that particular predictive like scaling, on the data, it will predict, so at what time we need to increase or decrease the servers. So this is like something like a machine learning thing. So in the background, it will take like all the information, and it will create a measured metrics, and based on that metric, it will predict how many instances we need to add or not. So here also we can here create, and you can do this. So we are not doing this because it needs a lot of time. That means like at least we need to have a metrics of 2 days minimum, so then only we can create this. So, and the other thing which we can do now is the dynamic scaling. So dynamic scaling is something which we can create it using this policies type. So we have seen what are these policies and how we'll do this. So now we'll see how we do with target scaling. So here we'll say we need to define a metric target. So based on the target and the value, we will define like how many instances that need to be added. So this is something like a policy. We need to create a policy. So here what I'll say is, so if the average CPU utilization crosses 30%, okay, then we need to trigger the auto scaling group to add the instances. Okay, so we'll create this. So before that, what we'll do is, we'll go to this instance management and see what is happening. So it's still taking much time, so it's still terminating. So we go to these instances and see this instance got terminated. And if I go to my target groups, So if I go to my target group, see here now only one is healthy and other is still draining. So if I refresh it, see it is removed from the load balancer. Okay, so that's fine. We'll go to the auto scaling group. We'll open this auto scaling group and we'll go to this instance management again and refresh it. See, only one server is running because here we said in the details we have defined, so we need only one desired capacity. So now what I'll do is I'll go and edit this and I'll say this as 3, maximum number is 3. So the desired is 1 and the maximum is 3. So this is very important because so if you you need to carefully give this. I want to, so whatever the load may be, I don't want to cross more than 3 or more than 10 instances because I can afford only 10 instances. So then that is more important thing that you need to give here. So now I will give 3. So whatever happens, this auto scaling group instances will not cross more than 3 instances here now. So I'll click on update. So here we'll go to automatic scaling, we'll go to the dynamic scaling, we'll create a dynamic scaling with the target scaling, and here we'll give automatic CPU utilization. If it crosses more than 30%, okay, then we need to add a new server. So I'm creating this target group, target policy, and now I'll enable this. So now I'm enabling this. So now if you see in the instance, so it will not add any. So it will not add any. So after terminating, it will not add anything because there is no load now, right? So there is nothing running in my instance. And if you see the EC2 instance here, the CPU utilization is still like 0.4 or something. So it is not crossing 30%. If it cross 30% or 40%, then the auto scaling group will be enabled. So click here. Okay, so what I'll do is, so we have a software in Linux called Stress. So we'll install the software. So what this Stress will do is it will stress the CPU and increase the CPU usage. So we have these 2 commands. So what we'll do is I'll go to my EC2 instance and run this so that I'll put some load on my EC2 instance. So this is my EC2 instance. So I'll say it as first EC2 instance. So leave that. Okay. So I'll connect using this, and here I'll run these commands. So mostly the first command will be already installed. So we'll try this. I'm installing this. So we'll switch to root. So this command is not found, so I think it's already installed. What we'll do is we'll just directly install this Stress here. So to install any software in EC2 instance or something, so this is a Amazon Linux, right? So if you want to install anything, you will install with this command. So yum install and the software name, and -y is something like yes. Okay, so if you don't give this yes, you need to manually so give s here. So if you want to install like any Node.js, so you will give yum install Node.js. Okay, so you need to define the software name here, and you will write yum install the software name, and you will be installing that software in your Linux. So here I'll installing the Stress software. So it's completed now. I'm clearing it, and now I'll say stress-c4. So this command will stress the server instance and it will increase the load in the CPU. So I am going to my, okay, I'll go to my auto scaling group again. So this is my demo ASG. So I'm in my instance monitoring. So if I go to this monitoring and EC2, so it will take some time, and this gradually increases the CPU utilization. Okay, Okay, so when the CPU usage crosses 30%, it will add an instance here. So meanwhile what we'll do is we'll go to the cloud alarm. So cloud watch. So we'll go to the cloud watch. Meanwhile that CPU usage will get increased. So if you see here in the alarms part, see here we have one alarm. So this is created like when we created our demo ESG. So when we created our target tracking, so we haven't created any CloudWatch alarm manually. So when you create a auto scaling group, if you go to this auto scaling group, when you create this target automatic scaling, so automatic scaling, when you create this target scaling group, so we have defined, so we need to maintain the average CPU usage as 30. If it is more than 30, we need to increase or scale this particular uh, security auto scaling group. So when we create this particular target group here, so then an alarm is like by default created here, automatically created here. Okay, so and this alarm says like when your particular matrix is crossed, it will get to alarm state. See now the CPU usage is going to 21% now. So when it goes to 21% or something, so that particular need to be called. So we'll see is it working or not. So we'll go to the monitoring part. Doing a hands-on part in this auto scaling group is a bit tough part, because we need to give the particular load. When that means we need to stimulate the real time here. So what I'll do is I'll stress mode. What I'll do is I'll give by 8. So now if you go to this auto scaling groups and if you refresh this, so it will take a little bit time, we'll wait. So meanwhile if you have any doubts you can ask me. So here see, once my CPU utilization went for 59, and let's check, see here, now the CPU usage crossed here, my CPU usage crossed 30%, so that means like 50 and more. So here if you can see my CPU utilizations crossed like 30 and it went to 59. So once this was created and this was crossed like 30, we have given a baseline of 30 and it is crossed 30. So then activity is started. See, it's launching a new instance at, so and it's saying that there is an alarm monitoring for this particular alarm, and we got triggered with that CloudWatch alarm, and this after triggering that we are increasing the maximum capacity from 1 to 2. So see, and an instance got started. So if you go to the instance management here, see there is an instance added to it, and if you go to our instances here, So a new instance must be created. See here, a new instance is created. Okay, and this instance will be also added to my target group. See here, it was added to my target group. So we have done nothing. We have just configured a auto scaling group target, saying that if my CPU usage of the first instance goes more than 30%, you need to add some instances. Okay, so now it was adding something like this. Okay, so this is the power of auto scaling group. So we just need to create some configurations and we can leave our application. Okay, and this is all I think we have done just in 15 minutes, right? Okay, so now we have a auto scaling group. So now we have a highly scalable and highly available web application, so which will never go down. So whenever I have a more number of hits or something, when I have a huge load or something, so whatever happens, so all the servers related changes will go in the background, so without my intervention, so I can sit back and relax, but my application will not go down here. See, now it is sending the load between the two instances. Okay, so this is how this auto scaling groups works. Okay, so now I'll go and stop this stress. So we'll see how much time it will take. So it's waiting for the instance to warm up. So let it come to this running state, then we'll stop the stress. That means we'll stop the stress and say we'll bring the load back to normal, and it must remove this instance from the auto scaling group. So here still launching the target groups. So what I'll do is I'll come here and I'll remove the stress on this particular CPU. So I need to reduce the stress on CPU. So my CPU levels will come from 50 to 0, and then that will remove one instance from this auto scaling group because my load was decreased. So for that, first this must completed, I think. It was still setting up and doing some initialization checks, I think. So if you go here and see, it is still initializing and all the checks are passed now. We are going to auto scaling groups again and we'll check the anyway, I'll remove this. So I'm killing this process. That means I'm decreasing the stress. I'm removing the stress on my EC2 instance. So now my EC2 instance, if you, there is a command called top. So if you write top and if you click on enter, so here we can see the CPU usage. So now it is just 0%. Okay, so if you click on Ctrl C, you will again come back. Okay, so this top will give you the what is the CPU usage and what is the memory using and what is the major application or major process that is running. So this is something like a task manager in your Windows. Okay, so you can see the process ID here and you can kill that process if you want. That is something like whenever we get a not responding application in Windows, we'll go to task manager and we'll kill it, right? Similarly in Linux, if you click top and you can see the process ID, and if you want to kill that process, you can write like kill and the process ID you can give that. Okay, so that's about it. Like if you go to this auto scaling group and if you refresh it here, it's still going down. So this will take some time because it need to connect with all the EC2 instances or all the EC2 services. Okay, so the concept you need to understand. So I'll give a brief summary on what we have done. We went to this auto scaling group and we created an auto scaling group, and this auto scaling group we have given a name and something, and we, so here see the desired capacity went to 3 because in the meantime I have left this particular instance without stopping, and still the load is 40%. So what you think is, so still the load is 40%, I need to add another instance, and it added a other instance here, see. So here it added another instance. If you go to this activity here, see, it launched another instance. After terminating, it launched another instance, because like we have left it like this without killing the process, and the load was still 40 to more than 40%. And what the auto scaling group got it, like it got another alarm saying the 40% CPU usage is more than 40%, and it again went from 2 to 3 here. Okay, so now we have either like decrease the instances, decrease the load on instances, it will go get rid of this automatically. And if you want, if you see this CloudWatch alarms, so it will give the history here, see here. So whenever there is a huge spike in the CPU usage, it will get an alarm here. So if you see here, see, it said that it got an alarm and it successfully executed the action in the auto scaling group. Okay, so this is my demo ASD. What it has done is, so whenever it got an alarm, and based on that alarm, it triggered this action in my auto scaling group. Similarly, in the second time also, it got an alarm for the CPU usage, and here it triggered another event, and it executed my auto scaling group, my demo ASD. So, and the policy name is target tracking policy, that which you have created. So this is how this CloudWatch will trigger the auto scaling group, but we haven't created any CloudWatch alarms here, right? So this was created when we created a target tracking auto scaling group in our auto scaling group in EC2. So this is created automatically, we haven't created it. So we'll go back to auto scaling group, and if you see, it's still trying to launch that instance. So that's it for today. So we create an auto scaling group here just for the summary, and we create a large tablet. That means like which instance you need to run in your auto scaling group, when your auto scaling group. And we have attached a load balancer here for this, and we also enable the load balance checks here, and that's it. We have created a auto scaling group. After creating an auto scaling group, so here we can change the details, and we can get the desired capacity. So when you go to this, if you want to automatically scale it, you will go and here define a policy, any of this type, and when you create a tracking policy, it will create a CloudWatch alarm. And when the CloudWatch alarm is like enabled, whenever like it triggered, it will trigger the auto scaling group, and my auto scaling group will add the instances, and it will be added to my load balancer and target group. And whatever happens, my applications will not go down, because it is in the auto scaling group, and it is being maintained automatically. The servers in the background were maintained automatically. So how much the load I may get, so it may scale automatically. Okay, so if there is less number of requests, so my servers will go down, and my cost will also go down. Okay, so that's it for today. So if you have any doubts, this is a bit complex thing, but you need just try to understand it. If possible, I try to send this video also. I'm just recording this because this is one of the like complex thing this setup is, so that's why I recorded this particular thing. So I'll share this to you, don't worry about that. You just go through this video and try to create your own auto scaling group. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll remove this auto scaling group, because it will take a long time, and it will affect this costing also. Okay, any doubts? So to the cleanup, so don't forget to clean up this. So I'll delete my auto scaling group, so this will automatically delete my instances also, so I don't need to remove these instances again. It will also get terminated if I remove the target group. if I remove this auto scaling group, it will automatically remove these instances which are running in this auto scaling group. Okay. So that's it. So this is about the auto scaling group. Hope you hope you understood this. So my suggestion is, if you like go through this video like almost like 1 to 2 times first initially, and then go with the hands-on. So you need to understand each and every option which we are using. So parallelly, and then first you need to go through this video one time, and then parallelly you run this video and you go step by step, and after that you stop this video and do it by your own. Okay, so that's it.